So, episode 32.
Okay.
Josh Dubois.
Yes.
Badass Records.
Yes.
How's it going?
Good. Very well.
Thanks you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So we know each other from, I'm going to try not to sound like an idiot and say the wrong thing here, but your wife and my ex-wife were colleagues.
Yes.
But now she stayed at the Brookside thing and Anna left to do her thing.
Yep.
So now they're just homies.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I've only met you once.
I think so.
I remember a party, a fun party. There was like lots of people there. And there was like a porch and then kind of a yard and then maybe a wall down to
Was
the
it
street.
our old house? Our old house?
Maybe.
Yeah, in South Hyde Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
It was awesome.
that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And I remember going in and seeing, I don't remember what it was, but it was like merch or vinyl or posters or something that was music related, kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo. So you've been in the place that you're in now for?
Probably like 8 years, I think.
Seriously?
Or wait. No, it's got to be like 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And how long were you at that place?
We were probably there for 5 also.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong on both of those dates.
Well, I mean,
it seems like about 10 years.
The whatever, like late 19, early 20 until like kind of nowish. Like I feel like it's kind of a blur for everybody, and it jumbles everything. Like kind of cascades. Like what year was I born? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also remember. I don't think I got to see it at that party, but I remember a story about a car, like that was like older, like a vintage or classic and nice.
69 Firebird.
And beloved.
Okay, so that helps pinpoint the date. So that would have been after our wedding, and our wedding was in 2014.
Okay. And
So
then
it was
it got
probably 2015. It got
lifted.
It got stolen.
Like out of your garage?
We were renting a garage from a woman that we found on Craigslist. It was a detached garage that was, it was kind of attached to her house, but it seemed like a detached garage. And she had a space. It was just around the block. And we were gone. We were in Albuquerque.
Okay.
And
I hate that fucking city.
Really?
What were you guys doing there?
Well, we've got some family there, and we go to Santa Fe a lot.
Ooh, I love Santa Fe.
Santa Fe is awesome.
Yeah.
Albuquerque is pretty polarizing.
Yes.
I think. Like you have to kind of know where to go, and I think family helps. But
Yeah.
it was the end of our trip. We get a phone call from said woman who we were renting, and she's like, "Hey, where's the car?" And she's never done that before, so it seemed really weird. And so, come to find out, it was.
Would she have? I mean, so does she have access to go in
She
this
is
garage?
she does have access.
Why
to
would
go in
she?
the garage.
If she's renting it to somebody, why would she go in there?
Well, it was a 2-car garage.
Okay.
Lawnmowers and stuff were stored
Sure.
there, and turns out like her person that she was letting mow her yard and giving odd jobs to had access to the garage.
And that was the person that.
We don't know. No one was ever caught.
And was it found?
We did find it. So my wife took to social media, and there was a post on Facebook that kind of went like local viral, and the news organizations picked it up, and so
A post of hers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she got the local news involved. The KC PD, bless their heart, they told me, and I quote, "We do not investigate Grand Theft Auto." So, they're dealing with...
What if you're Travis Kelce?
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So it was actually somebody who saw it on the news, found it parked outside their house, and these people had driven it like they stole it. The cops said the cops had been chasing it for weeks. People were shooting guns out of it at going like 150 miles an hour down the highway.
Holy shit. Yeah. Oh my God.
There was no casings in it, and when we got it, it didn't look that bad, but I think that there was like between like $25,000 and $30,000 worth of damage to it.
What
so
was this car?
It was a '69 Firebird.
Okay.
I can send you a pic.
Sure.
Beautiful car. Her dad restores Pontiacs.
I see.
And so his dream was to give every single one of his kids a Pontiac restored, and he did that for us for our wedding. And I'm terrified of driving it.
Right.
Like, I'm terrified.
You don't want to scratch it?
I'm not a car guy either.
Yeah.
So like people ask.
Is it a manual?
No, it's not. And I would be fine with that, but it's the questions that people ask me that I have no idea.
Oh, like what do you know
anything what's under anything what's under the hood?
An engine.
I had like a list of like notes on my phone to like go through it and like pull up, but like you can never pull it up in time when somebody's asking you the questions.
Wow.
But yeah, we got it back. I mean, it was a really weird. It felt.
Do you still have it?
We still have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, was it covered?
It was covered, completely covered.
And then the repairs?
Yep.
Nothing out of pocket?
Nothing out of pocket. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
How does it feel now?
It's better now than it was before, believe it or not.
Okay.
Her dad just he built it to be like a drivable car.
Okay.
Which a lot of those weren't.
Okay.
And I say drivable. There's still a lot of stuff you have to know to drive it.
Sure.
You couldn't, like, the people that stole it knew what they were doing.
Weird.
For sure.
Creepy.
Yeah. And it was definitely an inside job.
Right.
I am 100% willing to say that on record.
So you don't really drive it that much, but she does?
No. In fact, it's going to, right now, since we have a toddler, it's getting fixed up and sent out to Colorado for her sister to drive for a couple of years while we're.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So her sister never got one?
Her sister never got one. Okay. Not yet. She's lower.
How many siblings are there?
There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 and her, so 6 total?
Yeah.
Okay. She's not a twin, though, is she? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
But yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of times you hear that the owner, the person who is closest to the vehicle that drives whatever is afterwards, they're like, I don't want this. I don't want to drive this. I don't want it. Blah. But you gotten over that hump?
We've gotten over the hump. It was a while. I mean, it was before having a kid and stuff. So, life is a little skewed in terms of perspective of what's important. Yeah. But I mean, it felt very invasive, even though it wasn't our house.
Right.
So that was definitely one of the reasons we moved.
Well, you didn't just outgrow.
We outgrew and that.
Yeah.
We didn't have a garage and we wanted a garage, and now like you couldn't get it out of the garage.
Is
you have to move 2 cars.
You don't have an attached one, do you?
No.
But it's behind.
But it's behind the house. Yeah.
Do you share the driveway with?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So much safer.
Yeah. Man, this. It's so invasive, so creepy.
Yeah, it was kind of traumatic.
Yeah,
and just because like the police they weren't doing anything.
Right.
I mean,
I forget.
It was kind of like the scene in Big Lebowski when
Leeds.
Yeah.
Leeds.
Yeah, there was a point where like there was a vape pen that the person who stole it left there, and the cop picked it up. Saying that they were going to go take it in for like DNA evidence, but they don't have a DNA database and they're not going to run DNA on a stolen car.
Why would you even say that?
I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's just for the scene. I don't know. It was pretty wild. So,
wow.
I felt like it was easier for us to find it than the police.
Right.
For sure.
Man, people. Yeah. So born and raised here.
I was born in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
Moved to Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay.
When I was like 1.
Okay.
Grew up in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Had lots of family in Kansas City.
And then eventually wound up here.
Yeah. So I went to KU Film School, graduated, moved straight to New York City with like $800 in my pocket.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Ballsy.
Yeah. Bad place in Brooklyn. We lived in, basically what was Bed-Stuy. So it was kind of like further out on the L line out in Brooklyn. Lived there for about a year, moved back to Manhattan when my father passed away to help my mom. And then decided to go back to school. This is probably too long. So
No. It's perfect. For real.
Went back to school in computer engineering, hated it. Moved to DC with a girl.
Okay.
Lived in DC for 3 years, and that's where I started really like kind of cutting my teeth in video and film. And I worked for a internet how-to company where we just made instructional videos.
Okay.
And it was pretty fun actually, because we would go, and I kind of like specialized in a lot of the food ones, and so we would go in to like basically every restaurant in DC. I would work with the head chef on making a dish.
Cool.
And like watch them. Then I'd go home and edit it so I'd remember it.
What were you recording on?
So we had to do everything. So we got sent out with 2 cameras. They were just HD, probably Sony, I think, at the time. We did all the lights, all the audio, all the filming we were like a one-man band for a multi-camera shoot.
Huh. Cool. Are you on TikTok?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you frequent it, or?
I probably watch a lot more than I produce. I haven't figured out.
You put stuff up?
I put stuff up. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably like 4 or 5.
Okay.
I'm still like, I haven't like decided like if that, just since I work in the industry, I haven't decided if that's going to be a medium for promoting myself.
Yeah.
I guess. Because like
I haven't either.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, it's tough. You have to find a niche, I think. There's a lot of people that do it really, really well.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are bad, mostly brands.
Yeah.
And
there's a dude that rolls up on people. Maybe you've seen him with really nice cars.
Oh, and asks what they do for a living?
No. Oh. And says, hey, I like your whatever. He does bikes, and anyway, I'm a videographer. Do you want a free video?
Oh, okay.
And they're like, yeah. And so I've seen him like sit in the dirt and the sand while the thing blasts past, and he's just and then he'll get them like, he'll do like a little close up of the interior and get them going by fast on the street, and then he'll send a drone up, and super cool.
Yeah.
Like and there's a lot of people that you can tell like they've got all the pieces of the Rubik's Cube on the site it's supposed to be in, and there's also a lot of garbage.
Right.
But I started doing. It's first of all, it's tough because you can't do anything from your computer.
Right.
So when I edit and then email myself and then I got to open it, and then open it in Google Drive, and then share it, and like my phone instantly gets hot, and the memory's full, and I gotta like clear caches and delete stuff and shut down. And it's weird because like I don't know, I only have 64 gigs, and I can kind of hover around 58, 59, and everything's fine. But the minute I upload one, the breakdown, how it'll break down like this much is photos and this much is like there's no more it's all just apps, and it's completely full, and it's TikTok. It's using, every time I do it, it's using more. Like I was in the teens a month or so ago, and then today I uploaded 3, and it was using 40 something gigs, and it's like I don't know what to do. I don't know any other ways to like get rid of stuff. But and so I put a couple up, and then it wasn't a habit yet, so I didn't devote the time, so those few videos just kind of sat there. Put a few more up, and one of them got 1,000 views or something. And then I put a bunch, and I sort of started to feel like there's an element to the algorithm that's like feeding and like like if you don't continue, then you drop down, and you're
I think TikTok has one of the best algorithms out there. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I've definitely found that I will waste more time watching content there than probably any other form, like any other. Instagram was always that before. And I still am on Instagram a lot, but like the algorithm that TikTok has is so good.
So right now I'm uploading stuff from episode 10, and I just did 3 of them. And this dude is like, I mean, he's old like I am now, but I mean, 20 years ago, he still is the drummer for Shiner.
Okay.
And has other projects and still bartends and, likes to have a good time.
Yeah.
But he had, when I moved back to KC and was working with him, he had a huge reputation with the ladies. Lots of fun stories. So I asked him right around this time, and I was like, so do you think squirting is it urine? Is it something else? And he was like, I think some of it is, some of it isn't, blah, blah, blah. I cut that piece into a TikTok last night. And went to bed. And then this morning when I got up, my feed had a doctor's TikTok being like, check out this study. It's a legit study with 5 people, and they filmed it. And here's the article, and there's a video attached.
He found you on TikTok for that?
No,
oh, okay.
this.
Oh, it fed it to you.
Yes. And I'm like, I'm on this, and my phone's sitting right there, and I'm, I'm listening. Yep. So it's not like even. Yeah. So I guess even at like lower volume, I don't know. Yeah, it was crazy.
Definitely.
But interestingly enough, for these subjects, they catheter them and empty their bladder, and then they put dye in there, and then they stimulate them. And,
to see what it
and
is.
then like all of them, there is the dyed material is coming out. I'm like,
it's pee.
Well, as she said, that a large percentage is, but there's other fluid that is coming from something I forgot the name of, but it's the equivalent of the female prostate.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just like, I can't, for the life of me, understand how my phone sitting right here
picks that up. Oh, yeah. We always joke that, like, anytime we're talking about anything, we're like, well, yep, you're going to get ads for that now.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
You got to watch it.
Yeah. So you're in video production now, but you work for somebody.
Yeah, I work for Barkley, advertising agency.
Yeah. I used to see their stuff come up, like Career Builder, LinkedIn, and job search stuff.
Yeah.
Always seemed like a solid firm.
Yeah, it's the largest independent agency in the United States.
Dang.
So no holding company, which is a huge part of why I enjoy working there, because you don't have to jump through a lot of the hoops that you would if you had a holding company. A lot of the other bigger firms,
meaning people up here to answer to and to say you can't do that, or
and it's just like more like our leadership is really good and they've got full control. So I think it'd be bad if they didn't.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great agency. So I shoot and direct commercials, and then edit mostly.
Okay. And where are they headquartered?
Here, Kansas
No,
City.
I know, but what part of town?
Oh, in the Crossroads.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
building with the TWA rocket on the roof.
All right. So sometimes you go there and sometimes you're remote.
Yep. Yeah, we're hybrid, whatever you want. So I've got a setup at home to edit, because I do stuff on the side too, just passion projects.
I feel like the victorious Super Bowl run, Anna maybe shared a Chiefs video that you had made, and I feel like when I saw it, I might be skewing some of this, but I feel like when I saw it, it was new, but it had already had a bunch of views or a bunch of something.
Yeah, so I can't remember how I've met Mac Lethal a couple times.
Mac Lethal, yeah.
I've met him in person, just like a Royals game.
Yeah.
But we met online, and I can't even exactly remember how. But we started talking, and so he was like, I think I reached out to him maybe about making a Chiefs video because I knew he was a Chiefs fan.
Now he's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's like kind of low key, like a super badass rapper.
Yeah, and he's one of the fastest. So he makes YouTube videos. I think the most famous one was like he's like flipping pancakes, and you can see how many he tried in the background before he got it right because it's so fast. And then he'll also take like oh, there was a kid getting bullied, and so he took like this rap that this kid wrote and like did it for him. So he's a pretty cool guy. He lives in Brooklyn now, but he's originally like KC
Lee Summit or
based,
something,
I think.
Okay.
But so we just started talking, and you know, we pumped this thing out, and then we pumped it out before they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In anticipation for it, and then, you know, we were texting the whole Super Bowl, just being like once after they won, because obviously it was kind of a comeback.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're texting. We were like, we got to make it turn it into like a victory one.
Oh yeah.
And so we did that.
Okay. Fun.
And so myself and a motion designer that I worked with did that, and it's a pretty cool video.
Yeah. Now, but so was that a side thing, or was that
That was just for fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do side projects find their way to you?
Well, for like, so obviously like my day job, they come to me with stuff, so that's great because I get paid to do like probably the closest thing that I want to, like, you know, like how they always ask you,
What's
like,
your dream job?
Yeah, I mean, they're like, you're not going to get paid for it.
Right.
That's what you should be doing. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. And so then for side projects, it's really just what I want to do.
Okay.
Like for a while it was freelance, but I don't do any freelance anymore because I decided that if I'm going to be doing my job outside of my job, it's got to be for something that I think is either going to like get me a lot of notoriety or would just be really fun to do.
Right.
So like I try to take on like music videos every once in a while.
Okay. So you're somewhat seeking notoriety.
Yeah.
Because what needle does that push if you achieve your goal?
Well, I mean, it just gets me better directing jobs, really.
Okay.
Just in general.
So are you sort of, at least maybe only mentally, like compiling a CV or a body of work, or how do people see? You know, how do you make yourself? Well, no, yeah, I've done this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to just keep making shit. Like I think I've seen
like
a lot of. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is like that. I mean, I had a short film that had quite a bit of success a couple of years ago, and I had seen some of my friends do the same thing where they had a short film have quite a bit of success and like think like, okay, this is like, you know, my ticket to, you know, making it. But yeah, what people are always like, what's next?
Right.
Even at the film festivals, what's next?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm directing a Wawa commercial.
You know? So success, is it all notoriety, or is it a combo of? I mean, is there any kind of compensation?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of compensation in commercial directing.
Okay,
like a lot. It's a pretty. I kind of have the best case scenario for myself because I have, since working for an agency, I feel like I basically have an agent that does that for me.
Okay, nice.
So you take a lot of the money away from that, but you have the stability,
right?
Just to keep making shit.
So the stuff that you're doing for yourself is not generating. It's not a revenue stream, but it's building a thing for a better tomorrow, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the projects that you get given, do you on some level like all of them, or are there some that you're just like, you know, frustrated or bored or something?
Yeah. I mean, there's always boredom and frustration with some of the stuff that you have to do, but I'd say I'm kind of at the level now where I would say probably 60 to 65% of the projects I'm like, this is really, really cool.
Nice.
Like I got to do a shoot for a company where I got to go skiing with the camera. I'm skiing with like
the GoPro.
No.
Oh,
like
you're not holding it.
Yeah.
So no poles for you.
No poles. We had to open up the mountain early, get shuttled up on a snowmobile.
Yeah.
First and last time ever on a snowmobile. Scary as shit.
like it could have toppled?
Yeah,
or?
I felt like that. And I had, the camera wasn't super expensive. I mean, the camera was like $5,000, but the lens that I had, there's only 30 sets of this made in the world, and the lens is like 30 grand. So
Irreplaceable.
yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Wow. Okay.
Skiing with that, but yeah, I mean, it's like skiing is. I love skiing, and so it's like docu-style skiing. Checked all the boxes
Cool.
for me, and that was work.
Do you guys ski as a family?
I do. Val will go sit in the hot tub.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, your kiddo will or will
Yes,
not? Yeah.
will. Definitely. She's going to be a bruiser.
Well, I mean, that'll be. I mean, so assuming that happens, and that not too far from now, the two of you are tearing it up. Will she still just chill, or will she feel compelled to?
I don't know, she'll just chill.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
We met on Match.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not free, right?
It was not free. I don't know if it's
$50
free
a
now.
month
Yeah,
or
it was
something back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was one of the appeals to being on it, because I felt like the people were serious or more serious. I like Tinder and Bumble and those things were just coming out.
Okay.
So I didn't have any experience with that. But I remember specifically it was like both of our like paragraph on music that was like one of the things that we just like instantly connected over, because it was like all over the place, but it was like all stuff. I mean, there was like probably one or two in mine that she didn't like, and vice versa.
Okay.
So like,
how long were you on there before you guys connected, and what about for her?
I can't remember how long she was on it, but she was like done with it.
Okay.
And I don't even know how she logged in, but I was pretty persistent. I was like, do you just want to skip like all this like bullshit back and forth and just go like have a drink, because like we seem like we're pretty aligned.
Right.
And then she didn't answer.
Oh, damn.
And so I was like, hey, sorry if I was too forward, da 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 da. And she's like, no, I've just been really busy. I was going to answer.
Oh, cool.
And then she canceled on our first date.
Okay. I'm sensing a trend.
Yeah. No, she's not like that at all.
No, I'm just.
But yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then we found out on our first date that I had actually been set up on a blind date with her older sister in college.
Wow.
And my cousins.
Okay.
So we found out our families like knew each other.
Weird.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Did you go on that date?
I did, yeah.
And just
nothing happened.
Okay.
It was like
Interesting.
a frat party.
Sure. Oh boy. And so she has 5 siblings. What about you?
I have one adopted younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
In KC?
No, he's out in Lindsborg.
Where's that? Kansas?
It's Little Sweden. Yeah.
Okay.
Out in western Kansas.
Okay. That's interesting. There's a town, I mean, it's one of the big ones, like Oakley or Hayes, that's it's got a nickname just like that, but for a different country, like Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little town. I mean, it really is
nice. I think it was Jim Gaffigan, maybe somebody a long time ago, just talked about how if you look at the immigration coming from Europe to how like a lot of these pockets of either geographic locations or religions.
Yeah.
They all just, here
this is where we are.
Yeah.
In western Kansas.
Yeah.
Nothing out here.
Right. So how long has Dad been gone?
So he passed away in, it was 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
2002 for me. So just the 20 years in June. Which, I mean, I have 3 younger sisters, and everybody's, for the most part, completely different with how they either experienced grief or still do.
Yeah.
And I am, I try not to dwell on it too long, but and I've known this for a few years now. Like I'm like, all of my stuff is like really far in the rear view.
Yeah.
To the point where I feel guilty.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think that's good.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it did a a really weird thing to me, though. Like, I mean, I'm still like I've always been really, really sensitive, and easy get my feelings hurt real easy, overthink or look into when there's nothing there, you know. But also like TVs and commercials and movies, and I mean, just buckets of tears.
I mean, I cried on a plane watching Rudy, so I could feel
there you
that.
go. But going through that, and then 7 years later, my first dog died. And we weren't allowed to have pets. So I moved to Colorado after freshman year of college and immediately adopted a dog. And he was 14 plus years and pancreatic cancer. Boom. I mean, just destroyed him. Like, but the old man upstairs now, I took that guy, the old guy, in for a checkup, and there was a picture of that old guy as a puppy being like, I need a home. And anyway, so we adopted him, but when that dog, I was like depressed for like 2 weeks, staring out the fucking living room window just into nothing. So some point in there, I feel like I used up a good majority of my tears. And like some stuff will still choke me up, but like movie scenes but for the most part, it's really kind of
there. I mean, I get that too, for sure. I mean, I set there's like one time a year, the time that he like passed, that I found myself like just being off, like not necessarily sad, but just being really off. And so I would set a reminder on my phone or on my calendar just to like remind me like 2 or 3 weeks before, like, hey, this is coming up. And like that actually really helped.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it really helped. Like it was just such a easy thing to do, but I was like, you know, I was talking to my mom, I was talking to other people, and they're experiencing the same exact thing.
Okay. So mom's still around?
Yep.
And were they still together when he passed? Okay.
Yeah, he died of pulmonary fibrosis, which is a pretty quick, like, it's got a pretty quick lifespan for it. So it was like 2 years from like diagnosis.
Okay. Do we know how one gets that? Or
no? I mean, there's a lot. They say it's not genetic, but my grandma died of it too, so I don't believe that. So I have checkups, but they also say it's not due to smoking, but like he smoked. So I don't necessarily believe all of that, but it's a pretty nasty disease. It just like fills up your lungs with scar tissue.
Oh wow!
Basically, like really quick. And I had some cousins that have cystic fibrosis. So we have fibrosis in the family,
which means
cystic fibrosis is just kind of it's a genetic disease, and it's a different sort of like you basically like the lifespan when they were born was like 18, and now they're like, you know, my age, like close to 40 with kids.
Oh wow!
Just living normal lives.
Symptom
I mean, not
free?
normal. No, definitely not.
Okay.
But like, you know, one of them, they were badasses. One of them went to. These are actually the cousins that my wife knew growing up. Yeah, she like idolized them because they were badasses in sports, and like one of them was a three sport distance running athlete at OU.
Wow.
With cystic fibrosis.
Wow.
I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So
how did your folks meet?
Gosh, they knew each other, and I don't exactly know like the story of their first date, and you'll see why like kind of overshadows how they met, because he asked her to marry him on their first date.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was serious?
He was serious, and she said, I'll have to think about it.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks later, they were engaged and then never apart.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So it's like kind of the bullshit, like real love story that you like kind of want.
Yeah. Yeah. So did they play music in the home when you were growing up, or?
Yeah. I mean, we had records. I think like as a kid, we were pretty poor. We mostly had bootlegged tapes from records.
Okay.
So like my aunt would have Thriller,
Yeah.
or the Footloose soundtrack or something, and then I would get that.
And you would dub it from vinyl?
From vinyl.
And so it's not like speaker to speaker. It's actually
coming
okay.
like from,
nice.
And then I would also like, I would sit by the radio and wait for a song to come on and like
try
record,
to tape it.
try to tape it,
Fucking DJ talked over the song again. Or if they fade it out early, just like.
Or I'd call
Yep.
and request it and then just sit for hours.
Yeah.
Waiting.
Yeah. I had a couple of those where, obviously you only get 45 minutes or whatever, but like hit play record and you got to go somewhere and just come home and hope maybe.
But,
yep. So what were they? So you guys are dubbing vinyl, and then you have cassettes at home.
Yeah.
Did mom or dad have favorites or things that you remember?
Yeah, I mean, so I inherited my dad's record collection when he passed, and it was pretty awesome. It's like Zeppelin, Beatles, Steely Dan, Stevie Wonder. I opened up a Steely Dan record that just had one handwritten note from him, and he was an architect, so he had very beautiful handwriting.
Okay.
And it just says weed. In the middle of it.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Aja or which Steely Dan record it was, but I still have it.
Okay. That's
so
awesome.
I have all of his records. And we had a record player, I think, but we didn't listen to him a lot.
Okay.
So I don't know where this collection even was, and I can't picture it in the household.
So those are all his records. None of them were mom's.
Well, my mom had pretty good music taste too, but she could really be influenced by whoever she was with.
Sure.
So she'd listen to really good music.
Okay.
And still does, but you kind of have to give it to her.
Right.
She knows the good stuff versus bad.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And how did they arrive at deciding to adopt?
Well, so I wrecked my mom.
Okay.
Coming out, had to have a hysterectomy
after
me. She wasn't even supposed to be able to have me.
Wow.
So then they adopted after that.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Always wanted to have a big family. So
yeah. And so moving past the stuff that they were maybe listening to, do you remember your first acquisition or purchase or listening to somebody else's copy of something that?
Yeah, I mean, so I was very, very young with Footloose and Thriller, and I remember those two very specifically, listening to them for wearing them out, needing to go dub them again.
Nice.
I remember the first CDs that I bought because it was right when CDs came out. But before that, I know I had Green Day Dookie.
Oh, wow.
On cassette.
Okay.
And I don't think my parents realized what it was, or because we weren't, I watched rated R movies very late compared to most kids.
Okay.
But I think that they were also kind of always cool with music.
Okay.
Which is cool. So
nice.
Then I do remember that was also one of my first CD purchases
when
I got that.
Yeah.
And this was also the time when BMG
oh yeah, man.
was around,
oh, yeah.
And there's the scam going around your middle school of there's the guy that's trying to sell it so he can get a bunch of free CDs. And so I did those a couple times, and I would get 10 CDs or 11 or however many at the time. So my collection grew pretty quickly then with that. But yeah, it was I think my first album that I bought was probably Salt and Pepper.
Hey.
And then
it's a good record.
Yeah, and then I think I was gifted the Sister Act soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And so you guys connect on Match, and you have the music commonalities, and then to arrive to, I mean, the idea of Parenthood. Do I remember correctly that it wasn't this easiest path for you?
Yeah, it was.
It's all kind of hazy.
Yeah,
but I feel like that was a thing.
It was definitely a thing. It was 4 years of infertility.
Damn.
And it was tough. It was really tough. I equate it to the reverse feeling of grief, because it continually gets harder and compounded more, and you also don't know if it'll ever end. because with grief, it's you're getting better.
Jeez.
Better. I know there's like humps in it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same. And so then we did lots of IUI, which is turkey baster method.
Okay.
For lack of better terms,
you
can't actually use a turkey baster. I think my wife asked.
Right.
It's really expensive.
Yeah.
And also we were unexplained.
All the pieces along that road come with a price tag.
Unless you have really good insurance or live in a country that's not the United States. But yeah, so lots of that. And then we did IVF.
Okay.
We got, I think, like 5 eggs, which is not great, but not terrible.
Like you should have had more?
Yeah, there should be more, or 5 like that were like fertilized.
Okay.
Completely unexplained infertility, by the way, too. So like,
what?
That means like neither of us knows if it's each other.
Oh, I was gonna say like.
Yeah, so we don't know who it was, and so that like is also. I think that's actually a better way to go through it, because I could see like a lot of guilt on the person that like. It's like, oh, if it's something I could change or something I did wrong in previous life, like, but no. But so then 2 failed IVF attempts, which those are a lot more intense than IUI, shots every day.
Oh, shit.
Really fucks with the woman's body.
I can imagine.
And so my wife...
While she's trying to grow a human inside of it. I mean, Jesus.
And then, so the last one, we did implanted 2, which is the way a lot of people get twins. And we found out we were pregnant on Friday the 13th, the first day of pandemic lockdown in Kansas City.
Welcome to COVID. Wow.
Yeah, so then one of them took.
And okay. My next door neighbors, they had a baby like 3-4 years ago. And I didn't know until I guess it was news that they were pregnant with their second.
Yeah.
But he put a post on Instagram saying that, like, they did find, and it was his stuff that wasn't working. So they found a donor and a batch of eggs from her and whatever, and they're somewhere.
Yeah.
So they have this baby, and then they have. So he put he put that as a post, and I was like, oh shit, man, I didn't know. But it was kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone kind of post, because we're expecting our second, and I mean, they will be 100% biological siblings.
Oh wow!
Because they did a batch.
The same. Yeah.
And so a little bit of time went by between me seeing that post and like catching him outside, and I was like, dude, I didn't know, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, well, it's kind of messed up now, because with Roe v. Wade overturned, we don't know what they're going to say about those eggs that are still sitting there. Like, are those lives, and are they going to be forced to be cast out? And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's fucked up, honestly. Like, it's there's some states, like I think like Arkansas is one where it's like, that's like you have to travel outside of state to do IVF now.
To attempt to create. We're not talking about attempting to end a life.
Because like technically we had, I mean, if you go by that definition, we had 5, right, when we first got them. And you have to like, so then you have to like either like use them all. I don't know exactly what it is or how it'll translate, but it's one of the many things that people don't necessarily like think about when they're just spouting off the bullshit about the decision,
So much bullshit spouting. Take your pick. There's a lane for everybody.
Yeah.
So will this be, is it a closed chapter for you guys?
I think so. I mean, we're not going to do IVF again.
Okay.
So if it happens naturally.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
If not, cool.
Yeah. Man, I mean, it's really funny that you mentioned that about the perspective pre-parenthood.
Oh yeah.
Just
it's completely different.
2 things come to mind, like when somebody that is not a parent chooses unprovoked often to share how busy they are. And it's like, really?
Yeah, thanks.
There's that, and then there's the I feel believe in your heart that your dog is the same. It's like apples and apples.
Yeah.
Parenting a dog versus parenting a human. I'm just like, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really weird. Like how, I mean, I'm still discovering things that I was unaware of. Like right now, there's a lot of, there's a lot of I think there's kind of always been a lot of girls on TikTok that are like doing their thing, saying that they're interested in older men, right? And if you're not these things, then keep on going.
Yeah.
But the one I've been seeing very recently is how come what happened to guys pursuing?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Apparently guys don't
pursue.
pursue anymore.
Yeah.
And I see something like that, and I'm like, I can't get in the comments fast enough just to see what people are saying.
Yeah.
There's so many fucking people in there that are like completely not worth the hurt or rejection or whatever. And at the end of the day, like I really enjoy my life with my kids.
Yeah.
And I will. That's a big slice of my pie. And then doing something that I love and enjoy is also a pretty big slice.
Yeah.
And then I don't have a whole lot more room.
Right.
Yeah. So if it's amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sure.
But if it comes with bullshit
Yeah.
and drama and like,
Yeah. No time.
like
Time is
I'll
the
just
most valuable
me and the
asset,
kid. Yeah.
Really.
But your record's fascinating to me.
Okay.
So first we have Paul's Boutique.
Yep.
Which has come up twice.
Okay.
The first time somebody brought just a huge bag full of records just to hold them up.
Okay.
And that was one of them. So we really, I mean, for me, it was an opportunity to more. I have it on cassette to freshly just geek out about how beautiful the cover art.
Oh yeah, the
is.
panoramic picture.
Yes. So, but that it was really just we talked very little about it, but then somebody picked it, and it was kind of weird. Like I'm scheduling all this stuff and nobody's picking that album, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. Like I was like, oh, shit, all right. But so the gal that picked that as part of her list, two things stood out. She said, it's the $1 million record that could never be made ever again because of all the sampling.
Yeah.
And the second thing she said, and it wasn't like a bullet point, the conversation just kind of went this direction, but she said that she considered the Beastie Boys back then to be pretty misogynistic.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And I was like, really? And so while I was getting ready for this, I was like kind of fixated on that line.
Right.
And oops. I'm a word nerd, so I love going to zero shame if I don't know what a word means.
Right.
I'm going to look it up or I'm going to ask you to tell me. But I was just curious to visit the definition of
misogynistic.
Yeah. And so there's.
Was she referring to Paul's Boutique or like?
I think the bubble of License to Ill and Paul's Boutique.
Okay.
Like kind of in that little.
Yeah.
We didn't dwell on it
Right.
at all, but I think maybe she was setting those two aside versus like Check Your Head and stuff that came later.
Yeah.
But,
just them.
so there's two definitions:
Okay.
reflecting or existing hatred, dislike, or mistrust of women, which is basically the definition that I've had for that word in my mind since I learned what the word was.
Right.
The second definition I feel like maybe is recently added. And I'm not like, it's not funny, but it's not the same definition.
Sure. Yeah.
Reflecting or exhibiting ingrained and institutionalized prejudice against women, sexist.
That sounds fair.
But it's not hatred,
Right. Yeah.
I've always, if I've heard that word or read it or whatever, I think of a person that like has hate in their heart
Sure.
for like just all females, which
Right,
is
yeah.
super weird.
Yeah.
And then of course the other, like, that exists. That's a very real thing.
Yeah.
But there's not hatred.
Right.
You're just not being fair.
Yeah.
And whatever the work, wherever it is, it's just not equal.
Right.
So anyway, I was stuck on that thought, like, what, the Beastie Boys?
Right.
Like everybody loves the Beastie Boys, including girls.
Yeah.
So that's how I wound up, and I was like, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I could see that. Like I think for the License to Ill tour, they had a giant penis on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you read about it, the reason they had it was because they were just kind of like almost like poking the bear, just like seeing what they could put on stage. And so
Sure.
they're like, what's the most obnoxious thing we can
Sure.
put on stage is a giant dick. And so like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I mean, I could see definitely showing up and being like, okay, this is like misogynistic
Right.
or at the very least like objective.
If I showed up to that show and that was there, and out externally, I'd probably be like, haha.
Yeah.
Inside, I'm like, when are they going to take that down?
Right.
Because I don't want to look at that for the whole concert.
Yeah. And I think it was just like a giant inflatable.
Right,
But, like,
right.
Yeah, I would say that also, like, you know, they were under probably a lot of pressure initially with License to Ill to become socially popular.
Right.
And I think that was probably a big push in that. And they were known as like the party kids
Yeah.
and stuff, you know, like they almost remind me of like Kelsey
Yeah.
in a lot of
100%.
aspects. But then, so they were actually like kind of like self-banished, like out to California to do Paul's Boutique, which I thought was like really
well. They had
interesting.
Rick Rubin,
Yep.
right? Did License,
Yep.
and then they everybody was like the one hit wonder.
Right.
That was what it was. And,
Yeah. And
then,
I think he had quite a bit more influence on that album at the time than they did even.
License to Ill?
Yeah, License to Ill.
Okay.
Which he's an amazing producer.
Yeah.
Like incredible. And I think at the time he just kind of like it was almost like making like a boys band. You know, License to Ill is I still listen to it. It's probably my least favorite Beastie Boys record, and I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan.
Good. So my favorite quote that the first time there's a Chuck D quote. You know this?
Yeah, I know about like generally the context of it.
So the dirty secret among the black hip hop community at the time of its release was that this record had the best beats.
The best beats, yeah.
And I'm just like,
yeah.
I mean, it would be years before I would assume anybody would know that, but huge compliment.
Oh,
I mean, 89 Public Enemy is still like very much in the forefront of that lane of music.
And a lot of that credit really, I mean, most of the credit really goes to the Dust Brothers who did it. The Dust Brothers did the beats for Paul's Boutique.
Do they get production credits?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was always pretty. I think like even when the Beastie Boys showed up, a lot of the beats were already like almost done.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you know License to Ill first and then Paul's Boutique second, or?
I mean, I wasn't old enough for it to be like, it was out when I first started like really getting into
Paul's
music.
Boutique was?
Yeah, both of them.
Both, right,
yeah,
right.
So I think my friends and I in high school got Paul's Boutique, and it just like changed my life. Basically.
Nice.
I mean, we live in Manhattan, Kansas. There's no real internet at the time. I mean, like to get on the internet, you have to kick your entire family off their phone, you know, and do the like,
right.
You know, so like, there's not like a lot of like outlets in Manhattan, Kansas. I mean, it's a college town, but there's still like, you know, we didn't have the bands coming through like Lawrence did, so you had to kind of find it on your own. And so finding those things and then kind of like discovering hip hop through that was really, really important for me. And then also just like the sampling.
Yeah.
And that's like, I was debating in my head, like what album to pick, you know, and that one, I was just like, this is just hands down the most influential album of my life.
It's, I mean, I was aware when License came out, and had it, still have it, but Paul's passed me by.
Yeah,
I totally
he did with a lot of people.
Well, and then when I finally like dug into it, I was like, there's fucking like Eagles
Oh yeah.
sample like those shoes that,
Yeah.
and then I mean, there's tons,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of them are recognizable.
Oh yeah, the Beatles.
Yeah. So, what are the studio discography for them is like what 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
Oh gosh, I mean they have so many like EPs and like remixes and
But
stuff.
just like
now,
regular
yeah,
full length.
Yeah, Check Your Head after that, Ill Communication, Hello Nasty. There's the In Sound from Way Out, which is
love that.
It's amazing, and that was some time in between there, and then there's when they got a little bit older, there was like the last like New York one release, and I think there was a couple other instrumentals.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But you're relatively familiar with the bulk of their studio
most
stuff.
of it, yeah.
So if License is the bottom, like can you rank the ones you know well enough? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Paul's Boutique is one. Ill Communication and Check Your Head are probably tied for 2.
Okay,
that's a bullshit excuse.
I think I would say the same thing, man.
They've and then the newer stuff is fine. And then when MCA passed away, like I think they just basically were done, but also stopped then. So.
Right.
But yeah, I think License to Ill has its places, but it's more of like a party kind of joke.
For sure. There's a buddy of mine. What did he do? Episode 6. He picked License to Ill. And I revisited it, getting ready for his, and I was like, there's something about this record that is like admirable on a really, really high level.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not going to revisit it.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to avoid it.
Right.
But and really, I'm consuming music in indirectly one of 2 ways. A shuffle, a Spotify playlist on shuffle for here, and then in my car, just Apple Music, everything. Also shuffle.
Yeah.
So I skip. It's like, I don't feel like that. A lot. Tracks. Most of the tracks from License would have to find me in like the perfect mood to be like,
it's not like a cohesive album.
Right.
I'm very much a person that has like, I listen to the album from front to back.
Yeah.
That's most of them. But like the exception is typically hip hop.
Yeah.
Because there'll be 1 or 2 that I'm just like enamored with and just wear out, or there's only 1 or 2 good ones on the album.
Right. Yeah.
But that's another like feather in Paul's Boutique's cap, because it's just, you listen to the whole thing. I mean, I would stop a lot of times in the 15-minute song at the end.
Booyah Basse or
B-Boy.
Yeah, I don't. When I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
And the gal was like, I think most people skip it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I guess that would have been.
They probably saw 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a great song though. I mean,
sure.
It's just like a bunch of really small songs in it. Which is
awesome. But I mean, like, it's really wild to me that Licensed and Paul's, are kind of like the foundation, right? And then Ill Communication, Check Your Head were, at least in my mind, they were huge records with just bangers.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they've like risen, however you want to say it, right? And it's all big and full of money and videos now, but it's still like super dope.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that it seems to me that that's something of a rarity.
Sure.
For artists to kind of just, keep the mojo and I don't know.
Well, and Spike Jonze for me was a huge, like, I got into film because I wanted to do music videos.
Okay.
And so Spike Jonze was like my favorite director.
I'm so not familiar with that world.
So Spike Jonze is like, he did like a lot of the Beastie Boys music videos.
Okay.
But also he is involved in like Jackass.
Oh, okay.
Like he's in Jackass. Like he he produces Jackass.
Wow. Have you seen the new one?
Yeah.
And?
Hilarious.
Nice. But his role is always directorial.
Yeah, but he acts too.
Okay.
So the Beastie Boys also have this fictional character called Nathaniel Hornblower.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds very, very vaguely familiar.
Yeah, and it would be like a Swedish guy.
Okay.
But I might be wrong on this, but I'm fairly certain that like multiple people dressed up as Nathaniel Hornblower. I mean, he has credits on like Paul's Boutique.
Okay.
And the little amount of research I did before coming, I like just looked at the credits.
Sure,
I was like, oh, Nathaniel Hornblower.
Yeah, funny.
But I'm pretty sure Spike Jonze like has accepted MTV Music Video Awards way back in the day as Nathaniel Hornblower.
Okay.
He's listed as a photographer. So I think at that time it was MCA or something, but it's just, I don't know. The relationship, they always had really, really awesome music videos. And I think that was something also that, you know, brought me to them because I was a teenager when MTV was cool.
Yeah.
And the Beastie Boys were pretty big, but still, you know, like an indie hip hop group. I
mean, I know they had, so I graduated in 93 and then I went to Pittsburgh State for a year. So I kind of in a different, and then I'm out in Colorado, kind of really not off the grid, but very much. So a lot of stuff just, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, there was one or two videos that were like huge. I mean, the biggest one is it Sabotage?
Yeah.
And
Spike Jonze did that.
Okay, and that's, I mean, it feels like a movie, right? And there's a plot and characters and all kinds of stuff.
Dressed up and stuff. Yeah.
But I, you know, again, licensed through, for me at least, In Sound From Way Out. I mean, just kind of, I know it's cliche, but just pioneers in so many different ways, like
and real musicians too.
Yeah, and for whatever, I mean, Hello Nasty, I don't think there's a track on it you skip necessarily, really but I'll stir fry you in my walk. Like I was like, holy shit, man! Like, and I feel like it had an impact, you know, on a lot of artists like that. Yeah. Like, oh, that's a whole. We don't have to do the whole, you know.
Yeah.
Such and such, like, you know, it's a different way to get two lines in there that really deliver.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'd always just impressed on such a high level.
I saw that. So like, I think I got into them, and I think the last record that they had released is Ill Communication. And then the first one that I was like a real fan when they released was Hello Nasty.
Nice.
And so then I talked my mom into driving me and my buddy out to Chicago to see them play with Tribe Called Quest in the round.
No way. Yeah. No way.
It was awesome.
And you went?
We went. My God. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
What year would that have been?
It would have been 98 or 99.
Okay.
Or 2000. One of those. 99 or 2000.
So that would have been... I always forget, is the Love Movement, is that a Tribe or is that a Q-Tip?
That's a Tribe.
Okay, yeah. So that would have been right around...
The white one was the last one released.
Yeah.
Not the Love Movement?
Yeah. It was right then, like 98, 2000.
Yeah.
Same.
At that point, I was a huge Tribe fan. So like them playing together, and I didn't, you know, obviously both groups don't have their full members anymore.
Right.
So that was also Mixmaster Mike coming in, and like they never really had like a great like DJ as a member of the band before him,
right?
And then I feel like he came in and was just like just insane.
And then did he do some of his own shit too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he had his own albums, but he just wanted to be their DJ. He would like call them and like leave them like
voicemails begging.
Of him like scratching that that's the beginning of Mixmaster Mike on Hello Nasty is like one of the recordings I think from him.
Nice.
And he would just leave these voicemails.
That's awesome. And then so Hello Nasty is or is not the Sardine cover.
It is.
It is. And it's like yellowish, like really a nice piece of art.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then somehow I might be wrong on this, but somehow Money Mark
Yeah, Money Mark was, I think, a producer or like an engineer or something, but he's also a musician.
Okay.
Who he opened for that band.
Oh.
I wasn't super into
Okay.
it. It kind of sounds like their instrumentals, but like worse.
Yeah, I mean, Push the Button is really the only thing that I remember when that came out. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of it?
Right.
And I still don't know
Yeah,
where it is.
I'm not 100% sure what his involvement was along the way, but
part of the family tree.
you could always hear his name in the lyrics, so you thought he was cool.
Yeah.
Cool enough.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having your name in a Beastie Boys tune?
Yeah.
Should we take a quick break and then, okay. How'd you guys land on Charlie?
Oh, that's funny. We had a list of names, and we didn't decide, and she was Olivia for a while.
Alive? Outside the
alive,
womb?
yeah.
Okay.
And like I remember the nurse was like trying to help my wife, and she was like, "Just tell me the name. Think of it right now." And my wife was like, "Fuck you, fuck off. I'm pushing in a mask." Like, don't.
Right then she said that?
This like nurse came in. We loved all of our nurses, but this one came in like out of the blue, like right when she was delivering. You know how they bring a bunch more people in.
Where was this?
It was at Advent.
Where is that?
It's over in Shawnee Mission.
Okay.
Super close to us. But so yeah, she was like, she was trying to get my wife to like name her on the spot. And my wife was like, fuck off. We want to wait and see what she looks like and see her personality. And then that's how we decided on.
So it was on the list?
It was on the list. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3, I think.
Okay.
But
I did high school newspaper as a writer, and then wrote for a little bit for my newspaper in college, but then I was an editor. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in the folds of those 3 years, this just striking female just kind of appeared, and she was like gorgeous and like just unique looking. Mm-hmm. And like kind of just rode that wave of, I know that I'm really gorgeous and everybody's attracted, but I'm also humble. Yeah. Like I'm not an annoying, and she was a very good writer, and everybody was just enamored with her. Mm-hmm. And then she just vanished, and it's the only female Charlie I've ever known.
Really? Well, now it's like the number one female name.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's not going to be alone. There's one in her daycare class.
And is it IE or EY? Yeah. Okay.
Her real name is Charlotte on the birth certificate, but that's in case like she gets in trouble. Right.
But I mean,
she's a Charlie.
Did you? I mean, you didn't. Did you? You left the hospital with her as Olivia?
We named her in the hospital the second day.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
She watched the Chiefs game. She watched the Chiefs win.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so this is gonna be not good. Okay. But so 89 for Paul's Boutique. Yeah. And then I only first heard of Carseat Headrest, but college, the dude that was the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, he was like, I want to come out, we, hang out, and so he's looking at shows. Yeah. I want to come bring my kids. Yeah. And we ended up all go, he came for a week, we did episode 1, and we all went to Casey Musgraves. Mm-hmm. But I think the week before, Carseat Headrest was here. Okay. And he was like, fuck, I've been meaning to see him. I was like, I've never even heard of those guys. Yeah. And I sort of put a pin in it, like check them out, but never did. Yeah. So this is wild to me. Twin Fantasies, 2011. Yeah. But then re-released in 2018. Yeah. With Mirror to Mirror as a parenthetical. Mm-hmm. And I was basically, I listened to the 11 version and made some notes. Yeah. And then listened to the 18 version. Yeah. Thinking that they would be just really, really similar. Right. And I don't think they are at all. No. Like, at all.
I didn't know. Like, I mean, here's a band that I don't. The Beastie Boys, I feel like I can hold my own at least talking about. Carseat Headrest is a band I don't know anything about really.
Okay, I didn't either.
Listening to their music,
sure.
And this was the first album that I had heard, and then I found out, like you did, that there was a pre-recording of it. I was like, this is not good.
Wait, so you listened to the 18 version first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
let me check.
Yeah.
Like, are they just like? Let's see.
Track listing is identical.
Okay.
Song lengths vary pretty widely, and I think that the actual, I mean, here's where I landed with it, is that you can write a song two different ways, and it's not what we're used to. Like, here's the studio version, here's the live version, here's the version with, before we took the cuts out, whatever you call that.
And that's the first one.
And but nope, this I'm gonna write. It's gonna be track 2, but they're just completely different songs, which is, I mean, brain exploding emoji. But 12 Bandcamp releases, which I mean, the notion of Bandcamp is still pretty fresh to me. But I mean, it appears to be. To me, it appears to be like where an artist should go or wants to go if you're putting out stuff on your own,
right?
And it gives the artist more royalties than other platforms, and you would think that would be enough to really like make it gigantic, but it doesn't feel like it is.
Right, it's hard to like listen to on your phone.
Well,
I feel,
okay, but I mean, I feel like it because of that reason alone, it would be more of a household name than it is.
Right.
I don't know. So this dude is what's his name? Will Toledo.
Yeah. See, I don't even know.
Well, I mean. So
I know he's gotten COVID a lot.
He has, okay.
Because they've had to cancel a lot of shows.
Okay.
It's actually like he had like a reoccurring it really fucked with him.
Wow.
So they've had to like cancel. I think it was the lead singer or somebody in the band.
Sure.
That's how bad.
Well, okay, so this I think originated as a relationship record.
Yeah.
And it was really just him.
Yeah.
Like, it's all his shit, which makes me think of the War on Drugs. Do you listen to them at all?
Just saw them
at
Grinders.
I was there too.
Yeah, it's great.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed to learn that because there was some crowd like he was like taking requests.
Yeah.
There's some crowd interaction stuff. And I was like, this is really cool. They're making every show unique. And then I looked the next day at the set list.
Same
and
thing.
It's, for just
yeah.
city after city after city.
It didn't really strike me as a band that would change it much just because there were so many of them. And
right. But I mean, the roots of that thing is
right.
like Adam Grandacil, and it's his shit. But then he brings in other dudes.
People.
And,
yeah.
Okay. So, Making a Door Less Open was the one that has come out since the 18. Do you have that? Is it good stuff?
I like it.
Okay.
They had 2 albums right in a row that were just fantastic for me.
Really?
I like Twin Fantasy, and what's the one right after? See, this is how bad of a fan.
That's okay, man.
It was so it was Twin Fan. Oh, it was the one right before that, Teens of Denial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I actually debated between both of these records because both of these records, actually, Teens of Denial and Twin Fantasy, like, they are heavy on my rotation.
Well, I mean,
just super, and I'll listen to the entire thing or both of them.
Okay.
Back to back. Because they just feel the new one feels different. Like they're doing, and I still got into it. I got into a couple songs, but like the old ones just like feel like just pure rock.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, really fascinating, like for the purpose of, looking at bullet points of, sort of your musical journey. I mean, you 89 to 18
Yeah.
There's a lot of life in there. So it's refreshing to know. I mean, I know that there are people out there that are pursuing or accepting new stuff that they haven't listened to, into their lives. But there's also a lot of people that aren't.
Stop. Yeah.
They're just like, I mean, I was in a really dangerous spot of just becoming classic rock guy for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I see people that are that now or whatever the genre. And it's just like, dude, like, anyway.
My job forces me to stay up on music because because we have to use music in videos, and so that's very much. And then I also have a lot of friends that are in bands and stuff, and so that helped me. But also, like, so I work with. I mean, I'm a elder at the place I work at 41.
Okay, I bet.
So I had a couple, like, they're not on my team anymore, but there was like 2 girls on my team that loved like great music, and I was like, it is your job, part of your job, to send me albums. And they would.
Nice.
And we still do.
Okay.
Like, even though we don't work together anymore. Like, we just have a text thread where we send each other albums.
You must be in a situation where you're dealing with copyright stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge part of what I deal with.
Okay.
Which, like, another, going back to the Beastie Boys.
Right. So, I mean, can you give me bullet points or
on copyright stuff?
Like stuff that comes across your desk or
for sure. I mean, songs are insanely expensive, especially if you're wanting to use them to sell stuff.
Right.
So some artists just don't even do it. You can't really. I live in a world, we're a SAG agency, so we're Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
That's kind of boring, but what that means is, like, it's the most expensive of the most expensive. So if we want to put something in a commercial, like a Rolling Stones song, I mean, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars,
regardless of the length of the clip.
So there's 2 parts of a song: whoever wrote it and whoever performed it.
Okay.
So those things sometimes are separate. So, like, if somebody wrote a song and they own the rights to that, that makes it harder to get the rights to use the song, because if you want to you have to get the performer and the writer. So this is why a lot of people now, like, the smart ones will write their own stuff. Then you're dealing with one entity.
Okay.
So that's a huge, huge part of it. We deal, honestly, like, mostly in stock music, which stock music is bad. There's some good stock music, but, like, it's just, there are people out there, a lot of artists now, that their entire way of making money is selling stuff that sounds like other stuff, or just stock music that is just, they call it needle drop. And so you can buy something for $50 on a website and use it, or get a subscription, to use it. And that's completely different than a well-known track. Like, people write commercials and have like a famous song in there, and you just have to tell them no unless they have $500,000 budget. But on the flip side, if you're trying to do like films and stuff, you can sometimes, like, so we did a film in college. It was like definitely one of the cooler films I've ever done in my life, even though it was in college. It was this documentary, and my buddy that we were doing it with, he got a hold of Jack White somehow.
Okay.
Jack White watched our documentary and said, I love our music in it. Go for it. You can use it for film festivals. Like, I was trying to find it. I don't have any idea where it is, but we had a contract with the White Stripes to use their music in our short film, because we weren't, we were college kids. We weren't going to make any money, and he just liked it. And my buddy just got a hold of him.
I mean, is there a form where, like?
Yeah, it's a release, just like a photo release, right?
Okay.
So a contract. He also somehow got a T-Rex song for it, "Bang a Gong," which is in it.
Dude, there's the Spotify playlist that I listen to via Shuffle has a T-Rex record on them. So freaking good. Yeah.
They're great. And I had no idea who they were. And my buddy's like, we got a T-Rex song for this. I was like, cool. And, I didn't know half of what I know about music licensing now, but music licensing is like a pain in the ass.
Sure. So, are you are you always just going to that subscription or stock music or do you have situations where you've got to reach out?
Yeah, it comes all over. So, for commercials, it's mostly stock, but I also know like some local musicians and stuff. Are you familiar with the Republic Tigers?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
So they're a local KC band. One of their guys is in this music house called Post House. Primary Color is their like bigger name, but like they will write stuff for spots, and they're really, really fucking good.
Okay.
So there's that, and that's if you have a little bit more money. Like let's say like you jump up to like, let's say we have 10 grand or something. We can pay a musician to make a piece, or you might be able to, but like that's sort of like that. But then also it's like I consistently tell people like make friends with people that are in bands, because you never know. I have a couple of friends that are in bands that like if I called them and we really wanted to use something and it was the right thing, like I could probably talk them into doing it for the right price.
So if you're in a project where you've got to reach out for permission, are you just going to the agent or like?
So we actually have a person that like specializes in that at our agency. Big enough agencies do, and they will know how to call up and get a hold of the people that hold the rights to.
So that person handles that, and then they deliver it to you, and whatever.
They negotiate the contracts and stuff, and it's a big business. I think the advertisement is the way that most bands are finding that they're really making money. It's big chunks.
Okay.
Like
a commercial with their stuff in it.
You'll hear Run the Jewels and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a band that like you don't necessarily like see as like selling out.
Right.
But like there's a song in a Cadillac commercial.
Sure.
I don't think they were on it. I think it was just DJ Shadow, but like it was their song.
All right, time out there. Because last episode we did he picked self-titled Rage and then Run the Jewels 4. And
Run the Jewels was up there for me too.
Brand new discovery for me. I've known of Killer Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I only knew of somebody else. The GM of Up Down had an LP record.
Oh, of Killer Mike? Yeah.
No. LP.
Oh, LP. Yeah. The LP records are great.
So.
I was thinking EP.
Right. Right. No, it makes perfect sense. Run the Jewels. I lost my train of thought.
Killer Mike. I ate conch fritters with Killer Mike, if it helps.
For real? Where?
I was on the first and only SS Coachella cruise.
Okay.
There was a cruise concert, and Killer Mike was there.
Nice.
And we just randomly, how they like drop you off in like the Bahamas for like 3 hours to do nothing,
right?
Or to miss your boat back.
Right. Yeah. If you
and we were eating conch fritters next to Killer Mike in some conch fritter shack. He's a big dude.
Yeah. So in preparing for that episode where Run the Jewels 4 was in there, I came across DJ Shadow stuff, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because he, I did a radio show for like 3 years in college, and it's freeform, 3-hour block. Only rule, you had to follow all the FC.
No fucking
7 Deadly.
Yeah.
But the one rule that they enforced all the time was that you have to feature 10 new tracks.
Oh wow, that's cool.
From the new section. Like everything had colored tape.
Yeah.
And there was a chart, and this is that genre, this is that, and this is new.
Yeah.
New, so 10 new. You got to find 10 new tracks. And I really got into, kind of as I was just kind of getting into Tribe and De La and some of the hip hop, like I really got into like acid jazz and DJ stuff. Yeah. And Shadow was the first one I came across.
Yeah.
And I liked his stuff so much that I started buying anytime I would see it, like DJ Crush or DJ whoever, and just it was never quite as good.
Yeah.
And so Introducing was the first one. And then there was, I think The Private Press came out before that, but he only released it on cassette. And then there was another one. But anyway, I kind of fell off of that. And recently I came across an article where it was like his vinyl collection is like 60 grand or 60,000 pieces, you know, and it's a fucking room.
Yeah.
Like a major, like probably, you know, a ladder with some wheels. And
like a wine cellar.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I didn't dig too deep, but I didn't get the impression that DJ Shadow and Run the Jewels were like always a thing.
Right.
Like maybe he just appeared, and I don't know if I'm right.
One song.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Yeah.
But they I mean, they do a lot of collaborations.
Yes.
I probably should have picked them. I know more about them.
Well, no. This is way more interesting. Because I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to qualify like how mind blowing it was to just Introducing. I mean, there's I feel like he plays with different levels of production quality, and then he's got some of those snippets in there.
Yeah.
Do you know the record? Okay. Like beginning and end, Introducing.
Yeah. I think I have heard that actually.
There's snippets on there of like just I mean, it fits.
Yeah.
But you know, in first listen, maybe second listen, you're like, what is it? Because there's like a little vignette where a guy's like going off about parking tickets. Parking tickets.
Yeah.
And, there's one track where it's like, it is happening again, and that repeats a few, and then all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah. Just
so much crazy shit in there. Really fascinating, dude.
That's awesome.
I would love to like, you know, do a project, you know, and like, but anyway, so that how's Making a Door Less Open, or I'm sorry, Making a Door Less Open, different versions, vinyl, CD, streaming. So if you just stream it, it's not the same record,
right? Yeah,
like sort of along what they did with Twin Fantasies and the two. It's like, kind of you can do that, you know.
Oh, it's really smart, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I suspect that, you know, some of your diehards are gonna want to have more than
all of them.
all of them.
Yeah, and I would like find the songs that I was like, I would find a couple of the songs that I was like super into and listen to the different versions. But I think for me also, like, that weird like mathematical scientific thing in your brain that tells you that you like something that you've heard before, I think that stuck with me, and the original that I listened to first always was my favorite.
Well, I mean, so it's like 12 tracks, I think, and there's a like 6, 7, 8 or 7, 8, 9, Cute Thing, High to Death, Famous Prophets.
Yeah.
Which they're a good ways into the record.
Yeah.
And I'm on the 11 version, and it wasn't until those that I was like, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
The first stuff, I was like, I don't dislike it, but it is certainly not for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't put a finger on like what it is that's making me. Well, then I came across Will Toledo. He switched colleges because he was feeling supposedly isolated and anxious a lot, and I think the college move was to maybe offset some of that. And I was like, that's what it is. Yeah. I feel anxious listening to the first 2/3 of this record. Yeah. And it makes like I'm having temptations of wanting to skip, but it's like, no, I gotta stay. I gotta stay in this. But there's also this dude Mark Deming from AllMusic. This band has created moody and introspective lo-fi pop tunes that are melodic but structurally ambitious at once. And I was like, yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, like I need progression in that type of music. I mean, I've always listened to like kind of my music tastes go all over the place, and I know that's like a cliche thing to say, but like, you know,
sometimes people actually mean it though when they say it.
Yeah.
So
like, I mean, obviously there's music I won't listen to,
right.
but like, even a band like The Descendants, like, yeah, it's punk and it's hard, but there's still structure and progression, and like, to me, like, Bodies is my favorite song for sure. And the progression in that is just like, I mean, and it's a long song.
Yeah. Well,
like, I think it's like 7 minutes or something.
I mean, there's on the 11 version, there's the second track, Birth. It's like 4 words and 3 of them are hyphenated. That one's like 9 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple mid-length ones, and then I think at the end there's a longer one too. Yeah. And then you go to the 18 version, and I think that what was long is longer.
Yeah.
And what maybe wasn't long initially is a little I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I've listened to. Have you listened to the live album?
No.
So there's a live album
that came out right before. No.
It was kind of right before the pandemic, I think.
So I think it came out between 18 and Making a Door Less Open.
Yeah, it's mostly those 2 albums that's on it, and it's from all different shows. One of my coworkers that sends me the music said that you can hear her scream in the crowd in one of the tracks.
What kind of scream?
Just like a scream for joy.
Okay, nice, nice.
Like Carseat headrest.
4chan and Reddit helped develop this record into a quote-unquote online cult following.
Really?
And I realized when I read that and wrote it down that I remember seeing and hearing about 4chan and being like, what? And then it was gone.
Yeah. I was like, 4chan and Reddit seem pretty different. But
what is 4chan?
4chan is like what like QAnon
I thought
got
so.
famous on. So 4chan is like, there's a amazing HBO documentary where they like reveal the person who was Cube essentially.
What?
I think it's called like Into the Storm.
Okay.
But I only bring that up because I feel also the same. Like, I didn't have a good understanding of what 4chan was, and I knew people on it, but there was like 4chan and 8chan and like all these other things. Yeah. And basically, they're similar to Reddit, only Reddit has more rules. So they're post boards, for lack of a better term, that like 4chan was like became like the one that you could post like scary shit on. And
I feel like it landed on my awareness sort of in the middle of whatever you want to call what happened to the world when the previous president was elected.
Cinnamon Hitler.
That's great.
I stole that. So
what?
I said I stole it.
I mean,
so whatever,
regardless. For me, what it looked like, it was really just kind of eye-opening because I could never and still haven't even come close to wrapping my head around the support.
Right. Yeah.
And so then for me, that's kind of the birthplace of this big division. Yeah. Right. And
well, watch this documentary.
Okay.
It will 100% explain and kind of show. It just pulls the veil off so much stupidity. It's incredible.
I mean,
it really does.
But I felt like when we first started seeing, I mean, I guess really a lot of this is tied to social media. But when we first started seeing, Facebook and Twitter are going to put a thing on your post that says this might not be
right.
legit, documented fact. You should keep that in mind before you consume and then everybody's like, you know, up in arms about like, what do we have besides truth and information?
Right.
Like, so then it was like, we can go do that over here.
Yeah. Well, those are the unrestricted like misinformation sites, right? So like you could you could be on 4chan and be probably on like a subgroup that's like, you know, on music, and it's probably pretty awesome. or like it's basically you can pick the media that you want filtered to you.
Okay.
And so like they're like that's and then 4chan became famous for Q. Like that's
What? So what is
QAnon is just this
does it have to do with gender and hatred and
it's I don't know if cult's the right word.
But what do they believe
like,
in the sex trafficking?
I mean, there's different levels of it. Yeah, the Clintons were sex trafficking through a pizza joint in DC.
Yes.
And then Donald Trump is like the next like Christ reborn, and he's here to, fix it in the liberal elites. And it's very
You're not making that up.
No.
That's real.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think of the other stuff that I remember because this stuff seems like almost timid compared to like how extreme some of the stuff was that was coming out of it and the stuff that people believed that were coming out of it. And it was just basically like these like two like weird dudes like in a weird room in like some foreign country that has like non-extradition stuff. I mean, it's wild. It's really wild.
Are there or are there not parallels to QAnon and Antifa?
Oh God, I don't even know.
I mean, Antifa is an entity that, during protests, they're like organizing looting and rioting.
Yeah.
And for what? I don't
think so. I mean, I know that they blamed Antifa, but I don't think there's really any connection. I think that they just blamed. It's just like, oh, something happened there, Antifa.
Okay. So they're polar opposite, like QAnon and Antifa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if polar opposite because I think QAnon is like it's like over here and like everything else.
Reality is it's on a different block.
Yeah, it's very, very far-fetched from reality. It's wild. I mean, and like I've seen family members get caught up in some of the stuff.
Well, that's
like, the misinformation. Most of them have problems with Facebook and never make it to the level of like the 4chan and stuff. 4chan doesn't even exist anymore. I looked it up in incognito mode after watching the documentary just to see if I was like, I gotta see if it still exists.
Yeah. Some comic had a bit recently where they're like, how are we, I think it was in Bill Burr's most recent special, where he's like, there's no way in which we come up with a solution for this problem because we're all afraid to Google it.
Yeah.
Like, I know what, you just flagged forever.
Exactly.
But I kept seeing this lo-fi production label being put on Twin Fantasies.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think anybody puts that label on it, on anything, to imply that it's inferior.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily have the air of like propping it up.
Yeah.
But in this case, I really, really liked it because it was just him.
Yeah.
Like, so he put out 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first 4 Carseat Headrest records are just that 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a couple more self-released. And it gets this lo-fi production label put on because he doesn't have access to unlimited funds.
Yeah.
He's doing it all himself. And to me, at the end of the day, that's just a dude doing his thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I love. This is what I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to self-release. Here's my ceiling for production quality, and here's my ceiling but at the end of the day, I'm making this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, anyway, I just thought that was.
Well, we use this phrase a lot. Done is better than perfect a lot, because like in my experience, just creating, you can create something and have it be good, and then you can just like fiddle fuck with it till like the day is done and it's not as good as when you started messing with it.
Right.
And so I think that there's a lot of, and like I've done that with some of my projects in the past where like I won't even if it's really close to me, like I won't let people see it until like I've got it like
I love that.
where I want it, and then I probably am not going to change it.
Right.
Like I might change some of it if I really value the person's opinion, but like I might not.
Yeah.
I might not.
That was so we had ironically an communications master having a legal advisor for the newspaper in college, and so we put the paper to bed on Thursday. I guess it was Thursday, and so there was a pretty hard cut for her, and she would literally come over, and the whole thing would be on like angled desk light board bat, and so just making sure that we're not going to get sued for anything. And it was just really eye-opening to like so many things I never thought of in a million years that were like that right there,
I feel like that's my job.
Right. But we had another gal, she might have had the role first, and she just so super sweet and sharp, and we wound up having just the briefest one-on-one conversation when I was brand new to the school, like one of my first writing assignments, and she heard the topic and she's like, "What's the scoop there?" And I was like, "Oh, well, they want to." Blah blah blah. They're gonna buy me lunch and then we're gonna do our interview. And she's like, absolutely not.
No.
And I was like, what? And she's like,
yeah.
And it was a professor.
Yeah.
Who I had a lot of classes with, and I very much loved and respected. And there was no way in a million years that he was ever gonna have that kind of an agenda.
Right.
But
it's like payola.
So when I told him, he was hurt.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's news to me too, but I guess that's just the way. But just so that they don't, this treat of a meal or whatever doesn't push you to write, but I later in my own little silly independent writing things, same kind of deal. Like, I'm really excited about this piece. Maybe I want tons of people to read it. Maybe I only want like 4 or 5 to read it.
Yeah.
And I like fighting the temptation to share portions of it before it's done.
Yeah.
And then ultimately I never do. And like, there are spots that are a lot less liked than others.
Oh yeah.
And that would have been told to me, and I would have felt compelled to go back and change it. And
stuff. Oh yeah. The same thing happens with video for sure.
I mean, it was so. This took me about 14 months to get right, and then when we did episode 1, I still wasn't ready. Like I lost both cameras early, and it's the video footage that does exist is clunky and so many different things. But I didn't share anything until, like, I mean, this room existed, but the walls were just beadboard. So I paid somebody to do the room, and then painted and all the stuff, and then got all the gear. And I was like, now I got to figure out how to use it.
Right.
And I guess I was sort of taking a little bit of solace in the fact that there's just everybody is like, I did a thing, or like you get 46 updates en route to the thing being a thing. Like it's still just an idea, but they're just sharing everything.
Every part of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I'll feel a lot better if I can be like, here's a little bit of text about the project, and here's some pictures, and here's what, and then I'm not gonna share about it anymore because
organic.
And it just I think you can open yourself to a lot of vulnerability that can influence how you move about the thing, and I don't want that. So
it's definitely interesting because I've learned in doing it for a job and then also doing it for like passion, creating, that I have to be a little less attached to the one I do for a job. Like I'll pick like one thing that I'm gonna like die on a hill for in a project. Yeah. And then, but if it's but that's why you also do like the passion stuff, so that you can be like totally, completely the influence, and
right.
You know, you want it to be good, but it's somewhat your baby.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Like,
so he also did the cover art for this record, which is really just sweet and cute. And are they birds? What they're?
I don't know what they are.
Whatever, they're like two sticks.
It's definitely animals.
Yeah,
I have a sticker of it.
Nice.
That I love. I love the little like drawing of it.
And then the art, the inside art, just an independent comic, which I guess that person did a bunch of records before this one. Just like that, to me, is just, that's what it's all about right there. Like,
just
you know, it's lo-fi production. I did the cover art. My comic buddy did the like that makes it a real project to me
for sure.
So now I'm like onto the 18 version, and I had written, or at least had the thought to say, is there any difference, or is it just sort of, you know, when you open a streaming service now and you look at an old album, it's a lot of times impossible to find the album in the format that it came out, because everything's 20th anniversary with 8 bonus tracks, and so I always got to look and see what was the track listing when this thing came out, and what was the actual year, because the streaming service might give you a diff. So I was like gonna be like, is there any difference between the two records? And I was like, I think there is a world of difference between, and the 18 version for me is way more accessible. There's like a little bit of like Beck and maybe some LCD sound system in there, and I have not, it's not this one's better, but for me, for my tastes, like the 2018 version is so good.
Polished. I actually weirdly like them more polished too.
Okay.
Which I think like the lo-fi thing is definitely like, that's like almost like a badge of honor for like a rock band almost.
Right.
Like, because like you see, you know, people that are huge trying to achieve that lo-fi, you know, sound. Like that, you know, people like, I don't know, like Brian Jonestown Massacre. Like people.
Who is that?
Have you heard of this band, Brian Jonestown Massacre?
No.
There's this guy, he's like released like 1 billion albums.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. And but it's just like the definition of lo-fi. He just does everything himself. He's a psycho. But yeah, I think it's like, I almost like the more polished stuff, but then it was weird because like the newest album, it feels almost too polished.
Oh, interesting.
So like, I think there's like a weird sort of like sweet spot.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
You know?
Well, this one, the re-release version, to me, again, this back to this crazy concept of same record title, same track listing, but track 1 versus track 1 entirely different. Track 1, track 2 versus track 2 entirely different. And the difference for me is more emotional. I think, and maybe the emotional element pulled me so that I'm not even really aware of this production level being high or low. But really cool stuff. So you get the live album, the newest one, these 2 versions. What about the other stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4, and anything else?
I haven't listened to it much.
Okay.
It's kind of just sat there in that, you know, it's funny that you're talking about like the re-release or the dates. A lot of times when I'm discovering a band that's already been out for a while, like I did with them, like those albums that already been out, like sometimes it's harder to go back. Sometimes you want to go back and like listen from the very beginning, but then you don't know what order to go in.
Yeah.
I feel like that's way worse with like older groups, but like for me, it was like discovering just these 2 albums. Like I almost saw like these 2 albums as like an artist by itself. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like when they released like the new one, I was like, oh, that doesn't fit into that, like where these two albums exist for my life.
Meaning the two versions of Twin Fantasies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or in Twin Fantasies and
Paul's Boutique?
Teens of Denial.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Teens of Denial. So Teens of Denial and Twin Fantasy.
So those two that came out consecutively, right?
Yes. So it's 2016, 2018.
So they kind of live in a bubble.
Yes.
And it's the bubble inside the body of work, but it's its own.
Yeah. And that bubble is really what I'm into.
Okay.
Like, I'll just listen to those albums just on repeat.
Yeah.
I don't even think I know the names of them or the names of the songs
Yeah.
because I'll just play the entire thing through. Like Bodies is probably the only one where I would like seek it out as a single.
Mm-hmm.
Because I try to do this thing. I don't know if you do this with like your favorite bands when they're releasing a new album, they release a single. I try to listen to it like once or twice and then like be like, okay, that's it. I gotta shelf it so that I don't ruin like the flow of an album.
I don't know that I've been in a relationship with a band that's
like that.
Been a single releasing.
Oh, really?
Band.
Because I feel like most of them now.
Yeah.
Do it, but like it. I feel like it's starting to become more of a thing again.
Sure. I mean, the most recent one that comes to mind was when Fish put out a record called Big Boat, and it was like 2016, and they really it was what?
Yeah.
And they released a single, and it's called Waiting All Night, and it's emotional, kind of sad, kind of introspective, and there was a video that went with it, and it was just kind of like this shot of nature, kind of like some forest, maybe a ridge or some mountains behind it, and then like as the song begins, just this very, very slow stream, and it's like black and white, and this very, very slow stream of pink just kind of emerges and then kind of spills. So I mean I sat and watched that and listened to that a whole bunch of times because I feel like it had been a minute since they had put something out.
Yeah.
And I was like really, really grateful for that experience. But I didn't go too far to where I didn't want to listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think I'm sort of like an ostrich. Like I find something and then and then by the time I take my head out, like so much has happened musically in the world that now I'm behind again by years.
Yeah.
And what's weird recently, as I have some new sources of music I never would have come across otherwise coming to me, is that if I do find something that I really like, I become aware of the burnout.
Yeah.
It's like, a little voice being like, if you don't take it easy on this, you're going to burn yourself out. And I'm like, that's so mature of me. And then I just do it anyway. And then I'm like,
Well, and I think a lot of it too is like with so much access to so much music, like back in the day when like we're talking about like Paul's Boutique, it's like you've got to pick and choose your albums like very, like if you have a budget, like very thoughtfully, and then when you do, you like really like learn a lot about it. And I feel like that's like definitely, it's like clearly a case study in me knowing about Carseat Headrest versus like Beastie Boys. It's like, music now to me is more of just like, if I discover somebody, I'm going to learn a little bit about them, but like, I don't have that physical thing a lot unless I buy the actual vinyl.
Yeah.
And like,
it's a stripped down version of the relationship with the album.
Yeah, it is. And they almost just serve a purpose where it's like those albums are like, they serve a purpose for me versus like really like owning that as like part of like my brand or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
well, when I had this sort of, I'll ask Josh, what's the difference? And then I'm glad that I checked out the 18. And so where I landed with it ultimately was frustration.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, now I really want to go track one, and do the whole, but I got to listen to this record by itself completely.
Yep.
And then this record and maybe a second pass for each to where I feel
I'm gonna
educated
have to do it
enough
coming out of this.
Yeah, right. And then,
because like I felt like I was doing that like organically, just like confusion.
Yeah.
Not like looking into it like anything other than trying to find music to listen to.
Right. So where the frustration piece is because I feel like, just for example, if I went a direction with this where I wanted to like write a piece about it that obviously very few people would read, like no, who gives a shit what I think?
Yeah.
But I could probably, I would suspect, it would be very easy to hammer out 5,000 words.
Oh, really?
About and then it's like in the slice of my life that is music consumption. I don't know if I can, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a big ask to do, and so the easiest thing is to be like, another day, and I'll get to. So two really fascinating records, and I was really fascinated that you kept it to two. Okay. Was that intentional or?
Well, I don't know how many I had. How many do you get?
Well, that's been, when I started, it was like you get one, and then it was like the first dude was like, he gave me 3, and then I forgot that I had asked, and he didn't, and then he gave me 2 others. So then it was just kind of like, it's just going to have to be whatever.
Right.
I mean, somebody gave me 20, somebody gave me... So, but I'm pretty sure you only sent back 2.
Yeah, well,
and
one was easy.
I think Val maybe gave me 4.
Okay. One was really easy for me because like that one just stands alone in terms of like its influence on me. I mean, it influenced me as a editor.
Sure.
As a creative, everything. And then I think I just picked one that I was like, this has just been on super, super heavy rotation since I discovered it.
Okay.
And I love everything about this music.
I mean, it's. I don't know exactly what the message was, but it was profound. Like 2, not 1, not 5.
Because I probably wanted 10.
Well, I mean, you can have you back for another one if you feel like it. So, but what were there? Just off the top, a couple other that were huge.
Yeah. Lately, I won't say just specific album, but Run the Jewels.
Okay.
Huge.
Did you watch Ozark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
and finished it?
Yeah.
Like
they've had songs in Ozark for a while.
They have
a couple of them because he's in it.
Well, right.
But, like they've ended the season a couple times with Run the Jewels.
Well,
and it's just been like.
So somebody picked It Was Written, a Nas record, and so I zero Nas knowledge.
Yeah.
Prior to that, that was cool, and anytime it came up talking, they were like over Illmatic, and I was like, I don't know, dude. Like I didn't even know who
that's
Nas.
Surprising. Yeah.
So and then a couple people have been like, he was right.
Really?
It is a better record. I'm like, oh. So then somebody picked Illmatic, and then all of a sudden. New York State of Mind. I think the first track from Illmatic is sort of everywhere in that final episode, and then she winds up chatting with Killer Mike.
Killer Mike.
Like, this is so cool. Oh my god.
That show's had really good music.
I mean,
and I remember the scenes that the music. I mean, I remember the Radiohead scene with like the drone shot that's off like Moonshaped Pool, which is fantastic. But I mean, I've always been really, really into hip hop. That was probably like as a teenager and 20-year-old, definitely my favorite genre for sure.
Okay.
And so I was really, really into hip hop. So Outkast would have been in there too.
Okay.
Aquemini. Probably a Tribe record in there.
But you don't know which one?
They're
too tough to say off the cuff.
Beats, Rhymes, Life, maybe, or Midnight Marauders.
Okay.
Are the top 2 probably.
Great records, yeah.
And then
no Low End Theory for you?
Low End Theory is really good. I had all of those.
Right.
Like I had all of those like actually on CD. Because once I got one, I was like, I just need more of those. They're just perfect all the way through. So probably one of those, just because. But I almost see them more as like, those ones are more of like as a group, like just love them.
So are you a De La guy?
Yeah, I like De La, but not as much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where do we like? Do you know anything as far as their whole? I mean, because it was supposed to. In November, this past November, it was whatever the thing was supposed to be resolved, and they were supposed to be available on streaming. But here we are, almost November again.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever listened to a De La album all the way through.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not all the way through.
Okay. I mean, there's at least 3 really good ones for me. Stakes is High.
Okay.
Is
it really? I'll need to go back and check those out because.
And you'll have to like. Get a physical copy of it, or find it somewhere where I don't know, but because it's nowhere.
Okay.
Because I think it's still them versus Tommy Boy.
Okay.
That's arguing about
That's
money.
The issue.
Yeah. What was it? Not too terribly long ago. There was strife in the NFL, and maybe the NFLPA was trying to. It was time to renew the deal, and there was the owners, and somebody said it's fucking millionaires arguing with billionaires.
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually legitimately what it is. Not to say that De La has received all the revenue due to them.
Oh, right.
But I don't imagine they're like homeless.
No,
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so got a couple records there. Scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
What's your happiness level?
Probably 9.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So Tom Segura has a bit where he's approaching this, late 40s and just being old.
Yeah.
And wishing that he could skip ahead like 30 years and just kind of be real old for a minute and then just fucking die. And he's like, it reminds me of, in grade school, when you'd come back from summer, like you finish 3rd grade and you come back and you're like, where's Kenny? And they're like, he skipped a grade, and you're like, excuse me? Like, what the, like, I want to skip a grade. And they're like, nope, just get that out of your head. He can add like a son of a bitch. He gets it. But the way he presents it is like, let's say you crush it this year, and at the end of the year, a government official or a magic fairy shows up and says you can skip however many years you want. Like, how many are you going to skip? So my curiosity is, if tomorrow somebody bestowed upon you more money than you and all of your people and their people, it can't be spent before you're all dead. So you no longer have that stress in your life at all. How are you spending what's your source or sources of joy?
Okay. 1 second. I'm just going to check because my wife's calling.
Yeah. Do it. So,
okay.
The sources of joy, how would you spend your time? I mean, what would your life look like?
Okay. So, I mean, I've thought about that quite a bit, but I would like to actually add years back to my life. I would want to skip back a little bit. I don't want to like, be old because I'm pretty.
Well, so you're gonna stay the exact same age, but now you can both quit your jobs.
Okay.
Your kid, there's no worries at all.
Okay.
You can live every day of the rest of your life exactly the way you want it. What is your life going to look like?
Okay. I would still be creating, for sure. Definitely doing films. I just finished a feature-length documentary, and that is something that I'm really proud of. I don't want to ever do that again, but like I want to make more films.
You don't want to do a feature-length documentary?
Yeah, it's just too much.
Okay.
Took forever. But yeah, I mean, I'd still be creating. Probably like to live somewhere a little cooler, like in temperature
Okay.
wise. Big into mountain biking, skiing, all camping, all that stuff. Grew up an Eagle Scout, so
Nice.
So just someplace where we've looked at like Santa Fe or Colorado or places like that, or Bentonville for like mountain biking and biking, but just doing that and creating.
Nice.
I'd love for my wife not to be able to work because she works in a very emotionally traumatic industry.
Indeed, she does.
So I would love her for not to be able to have to do that.
Right. Is she there? I know it's not ever, it's always fluid.
Yeah.
But, you can, in that field, you can sort of get into the space where, to whatever level is realistic, that you can turn it off and go home and be a wife and a mom.
Yeah.
And, I mean, has she kind of...
She's figured it out really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
She only works 3 days a week, 3.5 days a week now. Okay. So those are like harder days for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean,
yeah, it's tough. She carries a lot of emotional burden with her from it. So
yeah, does she see somebody?
Yeah, every once in a while she does, but it's hard finding a therapist for a therapist.
I think it's hard to find
a therapist.
You can find one, but that doesn't mean you're going to jive with them.
Right,
They're going to have
the
specialties that you.
And it's super important. So yeah, I think finding the right therapist for a therapist is the hardest thing too, because after a while, then it's like you're talking to a colleague basically.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. Yeah. There's, obviously, people are all over the board, but it's just fast. First thing a couple people have said is, I'm still gonna continue to do the thing that I do for a living now because I love it. Yeah, and just the fact that I don't depend on it anymore. Like that's cool, but and then there's a lot of people that I think live a lot of their waking hours in some form of misery, right? Where they can't shed that thing fast enough. Yeah, and strangely, there's I think a little bit of correlation with that portion of people that actually don't know. Right. Like, all they know is that they would get rid of that, but then they've never really explored because they're just in that. Yeah. So
I have a million hobbies. I've always told everyone around me, and everyone around me will definitely confirm this. I will have no problem being retired. Right. I will have no problem at all.
A lot of tinkering. Yeah. This, that, and the other.
Yeah. And I just, make photography and films and stuff. Sure. And so that's just to be able to do that, what I'm doing right now, but without without a agenda.
Sure. So is there a portion of your stuff that's visible online? Yeah. And where is that?
Yeah. So I own the domain name mayonnaisecommercial.com. Okay. And that's an old film industry joke. I can't believe I got the website first off, because it's it's a industry joke that if somebody comes up to you and asks what you're filming, the first thing you say is mayonnaise commercial, because there's never a second question and they'll leave you alone.
I love it.
And so that's my portfolio site. And you can most of my work is up there. And then I have a feature length film that's actually debuting at Tallgrass Film Festival.
What?
Yeah,
that's not a small festival.
It's not. It's one of the top 50 in the world.
Wow! So, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
where
it's in Wichita.
I thought so.
So it's debuting there in October 1st.
In a month?
Yeah, very soon.
Or 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going down there for that.
Cool.
Myself and some of the producers, and that'll be really fun.
That's awesome.
It started with a horse.com, but it just takes you to mayonnaise commercial.
Okay.
And that's mostly my commercial work and stuff. It's short films and
very cool. Yeah. And what about the Chiefs?
That's on Mac Lethal's
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah. He posted it because we figured he'll get way more views.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, I don't have a huge YouTube presence, surprisingly.
I mean, I'm glad you said that. So I I'm not exactly sure. It's never the same how I get there, but for each one of these, I'll do. I have very short audio intro and outro that I just steal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, not quite 50%, but copyright claim.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. They've got crawlers.
Well, I keep them to 10 seconds.
Yep. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No.
But I've just been seeing them. And only recently, I don't know if I was overlooking this or if it's a new feature, but if you hover over the copyright claim, a little window pops up that lets you look deeper into it.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them, I just discovered like 2 days ago that it's fine.
Yeah.
Like the artist isn't going to do anything.
They don't care. They just want to make money off it, put ads on it.
But I mean, if there is a copyright claim on a YouTube video and that video one day is monetizable or gets that, like, does that mean that the money is going to
a portion of it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they can choose to put ads on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like for the films that I do and stuff, like that's all, like I have to have the licenses for that.
Right. So it's very confusing to me that a 10-second bookend over like a 3-hour episode gets. I know that it's not my shit, right? Yeah. But then you see, like, before I used to spend a good amount of time watching reaction videos. Have you?
Yeah.
So people doing like a song, or a whole movie.
Yep.
And for movie, let's say it's 90 minutes, and they cut it down to 26 minutes. I mean, there's definitely 10+ second clips.
Yeah.
Where they're not talking over it and they don't have some fake image or distortion to say that it's not identical. Right. So it's, I'm like, I don't really get, like, how do you...
Well, and like sometimes they'll flip the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
So but then the bots have figured that out. So it's really just like, it's gotten a lot easier actually recently, because for the longest time, like, they would just take your video down.
Right.
And so then they figured out a way to make money off of it. And they're like, well, they're not really hurting anything. So they give the decision to the person that owns the copyright. So that person goes in, takes a look at the video, says, is this going to hurt me? Is it really worth anything to me? And they can monetize it or not. And
the person is probably like an agent or an intern.
The band probably doesn't even ever know.
Right, exactly.
They never see it. So, yeah.
So wild.
Yeah. So if you ever want to monetize your stuff, I can help you with figuring out how to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean...
you just have to buy the track. It won't be famous.
Right.
You couldn't put Paul's Boutique at the...
No. And I've it's every single one has been a roll of the dice. But typically, if you lean to something that's older or a smaller artist, it can slide through. And I'm in that 10-second window. I've got fades on both ends.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's not even really 10, but
it doesn't matter.
Well, we should get you headed back in the direction of the family, but I really, really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, I mean, and maybe right now I'm trying to fill like a few December, January, February slots, but maybe when we're coming out of the cold weather and maybe
I'll listen to some more Carseat Headrest and know a little bit more about
well, or you could come back and we could talk about other records, other artists, if you're down, if time permits and all that stuff. Sure. But thanks, man.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right.
Awesome.